Hi everyone, welcome to this event on incentive travel. I am Brodie Sutton and I am the president of Edinburgh Napier Event Society. Just going to give a quick introduction to let people come in that have not joined yet. It's good to see the wee number crawling up. So this is our first event that's in collaboration with Sight Scotland and Event Grads, and we're really thrilled about this collaboration. I want to extend a special welcome to those of you that are joining the first Edinburgh Napier Event Society event. I hope that you'll find this event really productive spend of your time. Just to take you through the format of the event, it will be sort of split into two different sections. The first section will be recorded, and that's when we'll hear from our panelist, chaired by Tara Cater. And then the second half is going to be interactive Q&A. So that part of the event is going to function more like a traditional Zoom event, Zoom meeting even. I'm sure you guys are all familiar with Zoom meetings after the past year that we've had. But what's going to happen is you will be admitted as a panelist, which will all happen automatically. But it just means that this will be more or less a normal meeting. That doesn't mean that you need to have your camera on, although we do encourage you to. If you don't want your camera on, no one's going to force you to. So that will be a wee bit more interactive. So the first half is, as I said, going to be chaired by Tara Cater, who is a customer service and client relations expert. On the panel, we've also got Elizabeth Del Giacco, who is a destination management and MICE event expert. We've got Sarah Jane Anderson, who is the business development manager for Little's Chauffeur Drive. And then we've also got Zahra McDonald, who works as doing regional sales for the Fife Arms, which is a 5-star boutique hotel in Braemar. For those of you not in Scotland, that is north, it's in the Highlands. After that, we will have Naomi Hollis chairing the Q&A discussion from Event Grads, and we're thrilled to have them on board with this event. So without further ado, I'll pass over to Tara to chair the first part of the event.
Hi everyone. So thank you so much for giving up your time this evening to hear us talk. So as Brodie mentioned, we've got some great speakers. So Liz, SJ, and Zahra are all part of Sight with myself, and they've got so much experience. So I'm really looking forward to hearing what they have to say. So yeah, without further ado, let me just share my screen so you can see our presentation we've put together for you. So basically, I will start by talking a little bit about incentive travel and then about Sight Scotland as well. So, one second. So an overview of the incentive travel is basically, for those of you that don't know, it's basically a reward element of some corporate companies and other companies that they will target their employees to maybe drive sales or increase revenue or profitability, and they will be rewarded by going on an incentive travel trip, which is all expenses paid trip to a certain destination. I know from my experience working at the Balmoral previously, a lot of that was the North American market coming to Scotland, but you can, depending on the company that you work for, basically go anywhere, and they will put on a program of events, they will put on activities, dinners, award ceremonies, all of that sort of stuff, all expenses paid, to basically reward their employees and act as a sort of motivational tool for their employees. So the incentive travel is the fastest growing sector of the business events industry. So in 2018, there was a survey that basically said it was about $75 billion worth in that industry. So Sight Global, which is basically, we are Sight Scotland, but Sight is a global society that stands for Society of Incentive Travel Excellence. So it's the only business event society that is dedicated solely to incentive. So we've got about 30 chapters all over the world. And what we focus on is networking within other sort of other opportunities and other roles and other people within the industry, so we can really share best practices and get to know other things that are happening across the world. And we have some great educational resources available online, and we can help sort of go towards your certification of sort of incentive travel excellence. So then Site Scotland, which is what we are all a part of, so it was founded in 1991, and we have about 45 members. So we had a lot more before obviously COVID happened and the world ended, but now it's really sort of promising to see that we still have a lot of members that are still really engaged within the chapter. And we've got people they work at hotels, there's people that work on the Royal Yacht Britannia. You'll see the ladies talking later on and where they come from. And just lots of different agencies and everyone involved from across not just Edinburgh here, but Glasgow and other parts of Scotland as well. So we really focus on a sort of community family feel within a local area of site, but then obviously you do have that sort of global reach as well. So throughout the year, we'll put on educational events, we'll pop on social events, we'll do charity work as well. And we'll just really try and drive our membership and keep everyone engaged and keep everyone networking. So that's kind of a little sort of snapshot about who we are and how we fit into the incentive industry. But the other speakers that are coming on next will tell you a little bit more about their personal experiences and how their job role fits into the incentive market as well. So first up, we have Zahra McDonald. So I will pass you over to her now.
Yeah, as Tara was saying, I work in the hotel side of things when it comes to incentive travel, and I always have done. So I can give you a little bit of background around where I started. So after I graduated university nearly 10 years ago, I worked in hospitality throughout my time at university. But I managed to secure a job working in the clubhouse at the Fairmont St Andrews, having studied in Dundee, and just bear in mind that I studied history and politics, so not quite events management or sales or business studies. I studied history and politics. But a job had come up in the sales team as a sales coordinator just before I graduated, and that was very much a PA assistant role to the director of sales and marketing. And I applied for the job because I wanted to work in the office, and I just thought it would be really cool. And I had worked in banqueting on all of these events, you know, coming from all over the world, but I didn't understand, you know, where did they come from? How did they get here? All these years of planning. But a job came up as sales coordinator, and I was super fortunate enough to get that job. And from there, the Fairmont provided me with a lot of training and tools to be able to progress in my career. And within 18 months, I had moved into an active sales position, which was sales executive, selling to the local market, predominantly oil and gas at the time, which was booming in terms of sales for training and away days and things like that. I then moved west to Cameron House on Loch Lomond. So some of you may know Cameron House. It's reopening this year. And a gorgeous, another 5-star hotel. So I've certainly had my best pick of the bunch when it comes to where I have worked. But yeah, Cameron House was another great experience for me on the West Coast. But then another opportunity came up for me at the Balmoral in Edinburgh. So I moved through to Edinburgh, and I was there for just over 4 years until recently when I joined the team at the Fife Arms, which, as Brodie said, is a new hotel located in the north of Scotland, in Deeside, and we are a fairly new property, the Fife Arms, and that's us. So we'll go to the next slide. So a little bit about my role, and like Tara said, when people are coming on these incentive trips, this is an all expenses paid trip for the top employees, the top sales employees of that company. Now, I have worked with many clients across all of those hotels that I have worked in, and that's anything from, you know, dental insurance companies to automotive to beauty cosmetics. You know, it's a real variety of different companies that use incentive travel as that motivational tool to generate more revenue, and it is always been effective. And people say it's the most profitable way, even though, you know, they spend so much money on these trips for their employees, but what they get back in return is really monumental. And people, you know, they absolutely blow their sales target out the window. And they tend to say it's the same people that tend to make it every year. So these are the determined people. But going back to the beginning, how do we get people to come here? And from my side, the hotel is one small element of what a whole program is. And when we move on to Liz's presentation, you know, she is a destination management company, and they kind of pool everything together. But first and foremost, where are people going to stay? You know, they have to pick a hotel, and, you know, we compete against other properties across Scotland, but we also compete against other destinations. You know, I've been in a pitch and a client was looking at us, Bora Bora, Switzerland, you know, so it can be completely different. And these kind of trips, incentive travel, they promote these to their employees years and years in advance. So they make their sales target for the next year, and then they win the trip. So part of my role working in hotels was that I did travel a lot, and I got to go to a lot of trade shows, is what we'd call them, and we'd meet buyers. So companies, so for example, if it was, you know, Estee Lauder beauty company, and it was their top salespeople, we wouldn't just knock on their door and say, do you want to come to Scotland in 2023? You know, it takes years of planning, and what they would tend to do is use an agency as their middleman. So we would meet the agent, then we wouldn't meet the clients until later. But when we meet at these trade shows, you know, they can be hosted all over the world. So you can see in Dubai, San Francisco, Vancouver, Las Vegas, you know, I've had amazing opportunities to travel to these places and represent not only my hotel, but Scotland as a destination, and partner with many great partners like the DMCs and other suppliers to bring people to Scotland, and why we attract people to come to Scotland. And yeah, it makes you very proud, actually. You know, we're not just haggis and bagpipes and tartan, you know, we're far more than that. And what Site does is we really spend a lot of time educating many people on what the destination can offer, and we educate each other. So for example, I'm one hotel, but I'm really interested to see what can my clients do when they're here. So what suppliers can we work with? What chauffeur companies can we work with? So it is a huge learning tool being involved in Site. But when I talk about a buyer, and when we meet these buyers, you know, these are people who are maybe specifically employed for that company to just organize the incentive trip every year. And they will travel to, like I said, destinations that they're competing against. They might look at France, they might look at, you know, Dublin, they might look at Scotland and compare. And sometimes we're similar, sometimes we're not. But what we usually are similar with is price point. So trends that we saw a couple of years ago were maybe Edinburgh against Croatia, against Budapest. All of these places kind of tended to be on the same price point. And the client would fly over, we would host them, we would showcase the best of what we have to offer. They would not only stay at my hotel, they would stay at other hotels, they would dine in our restaurants. And we had to make that experience you know, the best that it could be, and hopefully we'd win the business. And yeah, we're signing for years and years in advance, but you know, time moves quickly and things come around quite quick, and that gives you that really great base business for the future when looking ahead for your hotel. But that's a little bit about my role as a hotel, so I'll hand over to Liz.
Thank you, Zahra. Hi there. I'm delighted to be speaking to you today and to be part of this. My role, I've worked as a DMC for the last 15 years, both as a MICE manager and a project manager. And it's a fantastic company, a job to work, a job to do. And there's so many opportunities. So what we do, the role of a DMC, a destination management company, is we're talking about Scotland, so we want to sell Scotland to the corporate market abroad. We want to bring business into Scotland and provide a professional service to clients when we're arranging their trip. And like Zahra said, it's an incentive trip. So we look after the requirements of the client. That could be a meeting, their incentive trip, maybe they're coming to Scotland for a conference or an event. So our job at the DMC is to look after all the parts of this trip. So there's a lot of things that we have to consider. And what we want to offer to our clients is a unique travel experience, a trip with a wow factor and something they'll remember, and showcase the best parts of Scotland to them. And we create all our programs are bespoke, they're tailor-made according to the needs of the clients, the needs and the interests of the clients, and also match their budget. And we look after all of that. Now, as Zahra said as well, our clients, we have lots of different clients, but they're usually corporate clients, and it's a business trip, and it's a reward for them for hitting targets or to motivate them. So it's not like a family leisure holiday. They normally have a bigger budget because the company's paying for it. So, and the clients could be from, we've had clients from food and drink companies, pharmaceutical companies, technology, car manufacturers, lots of different clients, but they're here to relax because they deserve it. So it's a treat for them. Now, the suppliers that we use a lot of local suppliers, and this is a big part of the job that I personally love, because you have the opportunity to build relationships with local suppliers, and that could be accommodation with hotels, transport companies, activity companies, hotel restaurants, because we have to organize lunches and dinners, at gala dinner venues. On the last evening, the clients normally have a large gala dinner. So we work with gala dinner venues, beautiful venues throughout Scotland. And sometimes we travel a little bit further for the last night. So they might not be in the city centre, further afield. We also look after the entertainment. So we have relationships with suppliers who provide entertainment and other extra things like gifts for the clients. So we work with a lot of local suppliers, and it's fabulous to make the relationships with them, relationships that last, and we can keep using them. Could you move to the next slide, please? So reasons for using a DMC. So we're like an agent, and then we work with an agent in another country, and then the end client, they come on the trip. So benefits for using a DMC are we have local knowledge. It's easy to have one point of contact rather than our other agent trying to book all of the accommodation, the transport, the activities and everything. We can do everything for them. So having one point of contact is such a benefit. Also, we have the best rates, the competitive rates, and we have a trust. It's about a trust thing as well. We know venues and what works in certain venues, therefore we can be more creative. So there's definitely huge benefits using a DMC rather than going directly. Now, benefits for working within a DMC, as in it being your job, there are so many benefits. You learn so much about the country, about Scotland, and the towns and villages and cities within Scotland. You learn more than you ever can. You learn so much. You build relationships with suppliers, as I've mentioned before. There are travel opportunities within the job of working within a DMC. You embrace new cultures. You learn about the culture of your clients, your groups coming, because what works for some clients won't work for others. So you embrace these new cultures and learn about them. And also a huge benefit is you can become a member of the associations like SITE, for example, which is a huge benefit. And there's a lot of different roles within the DMC, as I said, and sales and marketing strategies are really important. And we go on a lot of sales trips. They can be large sales trips with a large amount of people, or small ones. Maybe I could get together with Zahra and Sarah Jane, and we could arrange a private sales trip. So we go, the three of us, and we promote, we work together, and that's a smaller sales trip. Also travel, trade fairs, travel shows, newsletters, sales managers, company reps, trips to visit clients. There's a lot of sales and marketing strategies that we use. And within a DMC, there are different departments that you can work in. You can work with quoting, operations, account management, finance, and also sales and marketing, like we mentioned before. So that's a very brief outline of what we do in a DMC. But if you have any questions or that you want to ask, please ask me at the end. Thank you very much. And I'll pass on to Sarah Jane now.
Thanks very much, Liz, and hi to everyone. It's great to see so many people joining us this evening. Lovely to have an opportunity to talk to you all. So, as I say, I'm Sarah Jane Anderson. My role is Business Development Manager at Little Chauffeur Drive, but really background to where I came from was hospitality. Had been in hospitality for almost 27 years. And throughout that time had the opportunity to work in all sorts of departments in the hotels. So had worked in banqueting, had worked in restaurant, front of house, back of house, in the sales office. I moved into a role as wedding and events manager, which was my previous role before joining Little's. So I joined Little's really just to somehow stay within the industry, but take on a slightly different role. And Little's just seemed a perfect option. So I still got the opportunity to liaise with the different contacts that I've made throughout the years through different hotels and different connections within the hospitality industry. But it's a lovely, brand new, challenging role, which is very exciting. And actually, this was my first real kind of insight into incentive travel, was working with Little's. So probably just good to give you a bit of information about Little's if you've never heard of it. So Little's is a chauffeur drive company. We are the largest chauffeur drive company in Scotland, and we have been in operation since 1966, so for around 55 years now, and by far we're the most respected chauffeur drive company in Scotland. There are a lot out there, but Little sits firmly at the top and has very rightly earned their place there as well, just through consistency of high levels of service over the year. At Little's, we've got two bases, one in Glasgow and one in Edinburgh, and that is where our fleet is stored, and it gives us easy access into two of the main busiest cities in Scotland. And also we cover all the cities throughout Scotland through partnering with other companies that we've grown relationships with over the years. And this also allows us to work on an international level as well. So although our roots are firmly based in Scotland, we operate now in over 130 cities internationally. Excuse me. And we do that through a network of trusted affiliates that we've built those relationships with up over the years. And this is just so important when it comes to arranging onward travel, either for clients that we look after in Scotland or clients that are maybe have an international base but are coming to Scotland and want onward travel organised. We can do all of that from our head office here in Glasgow. So that's just a bit of a background to Little's to give you an idea of what the company is and who we are. But there's lots of different strands. It's not just putting cars out on the road that we do. So we operate very heavily, obviously, in the incentive market, what we're talking about today, but we also operate in the corporate market within the leisure industry as well. And really anyone or any client that needs a highly tailored executive car service, then that is where Little's would step in. Really, when a taxi won't cut it, then that's what you're looking for a chauffeur drive company for. Our clients tend to be companies like the DMCs, where Liz is from. So Liz will have a programme with clients that are coming to Scotland as part of an incentive programme, and part of her remit for that is to organise or to bring on a company to look after the transport for that client. So that's where Little's would come into the bidding for it.
Sorry about this technical glitch, guys. We're just trying to sort out a Wi-Fi signal here for SJ.
Do we want to move on for now, and we can come back to her in a wee bit if we can get a connection to her again?
Yeah, absolutely. So as you can kind of see from the speakers we've had so far, you might not have expected some of these companies to be involved in the incentive travel industry. So I know, depending on whether you're a student or whether you're in a job at the moment, maybe this is something that you haven't already considered. So perhaps you might not have known about chauffeur companies, or you might not have even thought that they would have a sort of role within the incentive industry. And the same with the DMC. I mean, I know when I started at the Balmoral Hotel, I had no idea about the incentive industry. I had no idea what a DMC was. I was working with Zahra at the time when she was there, and she kept saying all these acronyms to me, and I was thinking, I don't know what she's talking about, but okay. So hopefully this presentation has just given you a little bit of an idea about the different routes into the industry, and maybe there were things that you hadn't thought of before. So in terms of site where we are, so I am head of young leaders for site at the moment. So we really focus on people that have less than 5 years experience within the incentive industry or are less than 35 years of age. So whether depending on how old you are or how much experience you have in the industry, you can always become a part of site, but it's young leaders that have this sort of specific aim towards people with less experience, just so we can put on more educational events and really teach people about the incentive market and help them network more so than some people like Liz and Zahra. They've been in the industry for a while now, but some people might not have the same connections that everyone has, and so we really want to try and help people get into the industry that have less of a knowledge, because it's such a booming industry, and especially we haven't been able to travel for however long now, over a year, that it's going to come back, and it's going to come back with a bang. So to get more people involved and to really show them the benefits of the incentive industry and how you can get into roles within the incentive industry is really important to young leaders, especially as site as well. So obviously we know that if you are a student, you don't want to part with your money all the time, but in terms of our society in comparison to some of the other societies, we really have that sort of added value of all the connections that you have, of years and years of experience of people within the same networking opportunity. And the events that we host, some are free, some you might have to pay £10 to attend, but we take you to places like Barnbougle Castle, to Gosford House, to the Fingal Boat, and you can really sort of see lots of different aspects of the city that you live in. Whether you're in the rest of the UK, you could join Site GB, and they will put on similar events to Site Scotland as well, and just show you places that you didn't know you had in the city, that then you'll meet people there and you can then sell these different places. So when I joined, we went to Barnbougle Castle, and I'd never heard of it before, but then we had a client who was looking to go for a dinner and have something really special and full of grounds and a really sort of old historic house as well. So because I'd been there, I then knew about it and I could then sell it better. So it's not just about educating yourself, but it's about educating the clients that you work with as well. And really that when you try and sell to them, you know what you're talking about, and you know the industry and you know the area. So site will really sort of help you do that. So membership is $50, which works out to about just under £40. And that is for the full year, and you get all the access to online education as well, and joining events like these for free, because they're not always free. And then again, you get assistance with sort of getting your certification as well. So as well, especially, if you are at university, you'll know how difficult the competition is coming out of university at this time as well. So having something like this will really set you above the rest of the crowd as well. So just recently for me, I was made redundant. So just having all of these extra things to say, I'm the head of young leaders on site, this got picked up instantly by a recruiter on LinkedIn, and I was only unemployed for 2 months because they could see all this extra stuff that I was doing within the industry and being really passionate about, getting involved and charitable work. And it speaks volumes just having something like this. So I'm not sure if we have got SJ back or not, but I'm sure at the end, if you have questions, we'll be able to answer whatever we can about Chauffeur's Littles Drive. But yeah, so thank you so much for joining us this evening. And I'm going to pass over to Brodie now, just to wrap things up a little bit for us, and then we'll move on to the Q&A.
Yeah, So, SJ, I can see that you are back. Is there anything that you're wanting to add that we might have missed?
Yeah, it would be lovely. I'm so sorry, guys. My signal completely dropped off there. So fingers crossed it doesn't happen again. So I'm not quite sure what you heard up to, but it would just be nice for this slide anyway to at least be able to give you more of an insight and to cover the differences between chauffeur drive and private hire, because the two are just, they're worlds apart. At the end of the day, they're the same service. It's a car on the road taking someone from A to B. However, the level of service that's provided from a chauffeur drive company is worlds apart from what you would get from a private hire company. And really, it's essential to an event programme, because your chauffeur drive company and most importantly, your chauffeur is the first person that your client will meet when they step off the plane into the airport from the country arriving to Scotland. So they are the face of the whole programme that they're going to meet. So it's a bit like your receptionist at your front desk in your hotel. It's the first contact that they meet. So it's essential that they are professional, that they're well groomed, that they set the scene, that they're friendly, that they give the Scottish vibe off to everybody that we're so well known for as well. And the chauffeur drive company will assist with so many other things. At Little's, because we have a very special arm in luxury chauffeur driven touring across Scotland, we also have a lot of Scottish knowledge as well, which the chauffeurs are so well known for, and this just really adds to the experience when the clients have been driven from the airport to the hotel. The chauffeurs are very discreet as well, so they won't just sit and chat away. They know when to be quiet, they know when to talk, they know how to react to clients and how to deal with them, which can be very different to other taxi drivers, for example. And really just the opportunity to really just pull it all together. The chauffeur drive company will help make the whole experience completely seamless as well. And when the event programme is given to us, then we will also often will have already great relationships with the DMCs, with the hotels, with the suppliers. So they're not always brand new clients. Generally, there's a bit of potential friendship there from having known them over the years, particularly through things like Sight Scotland. And it's great to just be able to lift the phone to maybe cross-check a couple of things, or to highlight something, maybe an itinerary that isn't going to work right, or it's really all about relationships and collaboration. And that's the whole thing which I'm so passionate about Sight for as well. This year I took on the role of Vice President of Sight after looking after the events last year. And really, for my role as Business Development Manager, collaboration and networking is absolutely key within this industry. So not just within the incentive industry, within the entire hospitality, travel and tourism industry. And I really can't stress that part enough to you all. The more people you know, excuse me, the more connections that you have, the more relationships that you build over the years, you will find that absolutely invaluable when it comes to progressing your career, when it comes to doing a really good job in something. If you've got a network that you can call upon for support for different areas, it will just make an absolute world of difference. And at Sight, it really is the highest level of businesses that are involved in Sight. So it is all your 4- and 5-star hotels, your 5-star attractions, really your top companies throughout Scotland, and to have access to the people who work there, and really to build friendships with them more than anything else. It's fantastic, and I really can't speak more highly of it. But yes, so that's kind of covers probably the most of what I want to speak. I'm not sure how much I covered before I get cut off, but hopefully that's given you a good insight into what a chauffeur drive company does. I'll be more than happy to take any questions. I know that my role at this point was then to hand back over to Tara, but I think she may just have done that already. So I'm not sure who's going to come up and speak next, guys, but it's been great having the opportunity to chat to you about Little's, and I'll look forward to your questions with the rest of the panel.